hey man, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Yes, we can talk about my business and stuff, but this is not what it's about.
Inside Australia, like where can people find really good networking?
Because I'm truly passionate about helping you do better business and help your clients communicate more effectively too.
People think, hey, networking meaning I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to meet a few people and they will become my client. Hey everybody, welcome back to my podcast, and today we have awesome Mitch Toner. Mitch is an amazing person. After I landed in Newcastle, I met a few people, and I can tell you, he's a definitely stand-up guy. He's one of those guys that I can absolutely rely on. And I send him texts, and anytime I face any kind of problems. So Mitch, why don't you tell a few people who doesn't know you, and then we can get started with the entire conversation.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for the great introduction, Naz. I really appreciate that, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so nice to meet you. I guess first off, we connected via LinkedIn, and then, you came along to my meetup at the yacht club. So my name's Mitch. I'm from Newcastle. There's lots that I do in business, but the main thing I'm passionate about is networking and bringing people together to make this whole business journey easier for small business owners.
Awesome. So let's start giving value to the viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
W- I can tell that you have a few superpowers, and one of them is definitely networking. I saw how many people you know, and I saw how people really admire you, and I am definitely one of them. W- How did you get started with the overall networking and introducing people with each other and the event that you have? So would love to know about your thought on networking, and would love to know what are the things you are doing different that is helping you build genuine connection with people.
Yeah, thanks. And it's a great question too, because I guess networking didn't come naturally to me. And it was actually something that was really uncomfortable for me when I first started. Being a technician in my career, we're the type of guys who we're happy to wake up in the morning, be on our computer until we go to sleep, and then, you'll hear from us tomorrow. And there was a role that I was almost pushed into in a previous job where there wasn't enough sales coming into the business, and they actually wanted me to go out and do some networking. So in a way, I was pushed outside of my comfort zone initially to be able to go out there and try and get some sales. And that was the intention of networking. And yeah, it was just really uncomfortable to me. However, I did enjoy the personal connections that I would meet at the networking events. And there were some really impactful experiences, which, really inspired me to shape what I'm doing now. But there was just so much personal development that I experienced through networking where, yeah, after I pushed through that comfort zone of, the initial 6 months, 9 months worth of not knowing what to do and being uncomfortable, I actually found that my experience was valuable in trying to pass that on to others who are uncomfortable in that same place. So, yeah, that's truly what I'm passionate about. I use my tech and my skill sets to support people and become their authentic version of themselves.
Yeah. What would you say that somebody should think about doing the moment they think about, hey, you know what, I need to grow my business and I need to network? What would you say, like where do they start from?
I would say, as hard as it is, to just give it a crack. If you've got any friends who are talking about it at the barbecue or at the kids' soccer game, they mention, oh, I've been going to business networking. It always makes it a lot easier if you can go with a friend. But also, if you don't have anybody to make that easier for you, I would suggest just sign up because, it might feel awkward to sign up for a networking event while you're sitting at home and you're outside of that environment. But actually, once you get there, you're in a room full of people who are doing the same thing, right? So it's just like dancing lessons. I would feel pretty awkward at home if I had to do dancing lessons by myself. However, you get there, the music turns on, everyone's, moving together and it feels natural. So, that layer of anxiety that you may have preventing you from going out and networking, in my experience, I found was a lot more intense in my mind because when I would actually get there, shake hands, connect with people, they're genuine, nice people who want to help as well. So,
Right, absolutely. And where can people find inside Australia, like where can people find really good networking groups or really good networking events? Where do they go?
yeah, I mean, there's lots of great places. I'd say obviously the big organizations, you've got BNI, who are fantastic, and it's a structured networking series. There's also many other networking events. I don't really want to shout them all out, but you can very easily search online and just look for local business networking events. And, you'll find some larger organizations which will have a nice formatted structure for you to get comfortable. And then, of course, there's also other networking leaders who are always hosting events too. So, my suggestion is if you wanted to get started, start on Google, local business events. You'll find lots of pages on Meetup. Meetup.com is fantastic. Lots of free events on there. And of course, that's where I host mine, but also Eventbrite, Humanitix. There'll be lots of different, community sponsored events and also business networking events, which are,
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't you tell a little more about the event that you put together?
oh, thank you. Shameless plug here then. Yep. We're based in Newcastle, New South Wales, of course. And the networking events that I host are completely free. They're non-commercial. And it's for business people and professionals who want to come together on a Friday afternoon to celebrate their week and expand their network. So we catch up on the second Friday of each month. It's at the Newcastle Cruising Yacht Club, and we go through to 4 p.m. So it's a nice and casual structure where it's a low pressure environment for you to come in and just meet some nice people from my network. And then the only little bit of formality I have is that we get together at 2 p.m. and we take a photo.
Yeah. Look, with everything else that is going on with your life, I'm sure, putting together an event like this, takes up a lot of time of yours. Like, why are you so motivated to have this event?
Oh, thank you. And it is time consuming. However, it's really, like I said, what I'm passionate about. I get, so much satisfaction from creating these events where people can come together, share experiences and challenges from their business and learn from each other, share resources because, in my business, I probably wouldn't have actually taken that leap of faith if it wasn't for the support of my network, right? And so, I believe Newcastle's a fantastic place to start a business. And that's truly my motivation to create these events. I want to remove as many barriers to entry as possible for young, keen entrepreneurs like myself who may be feeling stuck in a career. They've been pushed into a sales role they didn't want to be in, or, they just want to take control of, their lifestyle and build a business that makes them happy. I want to make that as easy as possible. And I believe that networking is one of the best places to do that. And making it free for me is just so incredible to be able to pass that on and yeah, make bigger groups for everybody.
Got it. Before we move forward, I just have to ask you this because I'm sure everybody else is already thinking about it. What's up with the skull?
Oh, the skull, my little guy here. Yeah, man, I'm just a fan of skulls. I don't know what else to say. I've got a few bedroom skulls in my house. I've got a skeleton and, I've got skull mugs and things like that too. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sure, one day if there is an award that we have to give out in your event, that has to be a skull. It has to be a skull.
we should maybe make it a part of the, maybe a little logo or something.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Um, so can you tell me a little more about, like, absolutely people should network and people should be going to the event. So overall, there are many ways we can acquire a client, right? We can, it can be door to door. It can be introduction, through a friend or another client. It can be with digital marketing. Can you tell me, in your opinion, what are the top 2 or 3 things a founder can do that will really help them grow business if they're just starting out when it comes to customer acquisition, meeting more future client?
Invest in your relationships, you know?
Mm.
Give yourself
Mm.
a budget to invest in the key relationships that you've formed. And for example, take someone out for dinner, learn more about their business, If you identify someone who you think can really help you and you've got a way that you can help them, that's something to nurture and invest in that relationship. So I focus a lot on building healthy, genuine, long-term relationships with people, which is why you don't see me putting a price on my meetups or things like that. It's because, I want to invest in our relationship and I'm putting it forward that, hey, I'm happy to coordinate all these big events and things like that, create value and goodwill in my business to be able to pass that on for the long-term value of that relationship. And, you know, when I talk about value of a relationship, you might go, okay, cool. They're probably going to become a client at some point. But that's not actually the intention, right? It's more so that through the awareness that we raise of each other's business and educating each other on our capabilities, we can help each other extend our networks, right? And that's exactly how, things like the connector effect work. You can go into studies about, the rule of 72 and how, you can exponentially grow your network. It's truly about those foundational key relationships that you can invest in and nurture. So that would be, yeah, my suggestion there is to build trust with a long-term intent of having genuine relationships.
Right. Can I ask you this? Like, what can be the steps for somebody to reach out to somebody who has a lot more experience? So let me paint the picture for you. So, for example, you just you saw somebody's profile on LinkedIn or somewhere else. Like, let's put it this way: you saw somebody speaking at at a news event or something like that, and you're like, "Oh my God, this guy is I really need to meet this person because I think this person can, one, become my client, and two, would be really good to give me advice." How would you reach out to that person, right? And so it's not so I'm not only asking about the how. Obviously it can be LinkedIn, it can be some other media, but what's in it for them? Like, how do you justify this meeting of 10 minutes or 30 minutes with the other person? Like, how do you justify that to the other person?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in my journey, it got a lot easier when I stopped trying to prove myself. Uh, and that can put a lot of pressure on yourself if you are constantly trying to expand your network by shining your accolades or your credibility and trying to get attention through proving yourself. Because then, psychologically, it puts you in a different frame of mind where it's like, I'm either going to feel validated with this or I'm not. And for me, if I didn't feel validated with something, then it would prevent me from continuing that action. And I feel like a lot of small business owners in this place can sometimes mistake low volatility low volume for volatility, where they're not doing enough of the same thing to be able to have an accurate measurement of its success, right? You understand what I'm saying?
No, absolutely, absolutely. And at the sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to finish the point there, it could be that, if you're trying to reach out to these highly successful people who you may feel have more influence to you, remove that layer of validation to stop trying to prove yourself and just try and genuinely connect with them. And my belief is that if you show up authentically and genuinely, and your intent is to just try and connect with someone and get to know them on a personal level, they're going to look at you and see your values and try and align with you and respond back, right? So it's always about making that personal connection. It's got to start with a know, like, and trust relationship. And then it's about, capability and how we may be able to help each other. But I would totally just say, go for it, be yourself and go for it. If they don't respond, not your problem. That's fine. Just move on to
Yeah,
the next.
yeah, absolutely. And what do you really say to them? Like, even today I was talking with somebody and I literally had to tell him like, hey, listen, when I said I want to help you, I genuinely meant it. I did not say, hey, give me business. That's not what I meant by me helping you. And
Yeah.
he started laughing. He was like, "Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about." People say, "Hey, I want to help a few people." What they actually are saying, I want to I want to get a few more dollars to help somebody. But that's not what I mean. So what do you say to the other person so that the other person knows that he's not just after my money. He's just not trying to get me as a client, but the person is trying to just maybe get some kind of advice from me, right? What do you say?
I think you just wrapped that up perfectly, Naz. I would say exactly that. Reach out. First of all, everything I do is with a voice message. So it's
Hmm.
a lot more human. It's a lot more genuine, authentic. Everything I do is a voice message. G'day, Naz. I'd love to learn more about what you do. I checked out your profile and you're a fractional CMO. Like, that's fascinating to me, mate. And I'd love to, jump on a call together sometime to learn more about what you do and how we may be able to help each other.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely. I'm already sold.
if that resonates with you, we jump on a call and I'm
Mm,
upfront straight away. Hey, man, I'm not
right.
trying to sell you anything. Yes, we can talk about my business and stuff, but this is not what it's about. I'd actually really love to pick your brain if you'd allow me to, because I'm really looking for some feedback and advice on how I can do things better.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That's a brilliant advice. It's I'll tell you this. Sometimes we think that, hey, there are the steps that we're about to take. I have to analyze it. I have to understand exactly what to do. Let me read some books. Let me go through some courses. Let me learn the whole bit. But I think we often mistaken. the motion with the action. Like you just said, keep it simple, just do it, right?
Yeah.
So not over analyzing it. I think with anything, just like anything else in the world, with networking or meeting new people or reaching out to new people, we also tend to complicate it a lot more than it needed. And obviously, when we try too hard, it's not authentic anymore. By that time, it has already lost that touch, like that personal touch, right? Because we have started so much, we have tried to make things better so much, it has lost that personal touch. So fantastic advice, fantastic advice. Um,
Yeah.
so because we're talking about business and you as a founder, what kind of business do you run? I think people who are listening to the podcast, they would be very interested to know about more about your business.
Yeah, thanks, Naz. Yeah, so alongside the community that I host, I've also got my tech business, which is called Elaris Technologies. And my background is in telecommunications. So with this business, I offer NBN solutions, I offer Wi Fi design, and also phone systems too. So it may be a managed office where you've got desk phones and you need to be able to effectively distribute the calls amongst your staff. I can certainly come in and help you optimize that type of process. And outside the telecommunications, it's also CRM. So your client nurturing, you may need, let's say, a landing page if you're working with someone like yourself to, do your marketing and you need lots of traffic. You need somewhere to land that. It could be one of my pages, it could be a form, it could be a booking appointment, all of these different nice tools that I've got bundled into a CRM that can help you stay in control of your business and communicate more effectively with your clients. So my business is first and foremost a communications business because I'm truly passionate about helping you do better business and help your clients communicate more effectively too.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit more about the CRM part. Who is this for? Is it for a small clients? I mean, small businesses or mid-sized businesses? Who is it for, and what kind of problems is the software solving?
Yeah, thank you. I love to work with service-based businesses.
Hmm.
So the ones that are constantly providing service to their clients because there is a lot more back and forth communications. So, B2B service-based businesses, I'm really comfortable working with and I really enjoy supporting them. Also, business coaches who can come in and map out the processes of a business. Oftentimes they'll come in and identify that perhaps the onboarding process is quite clunky and inefficient. That's where I can come in. We'll map out what a better streamlined process looks like with the tech to be able to save their time and, you know, create replication in their business to make it easier.
Yeah, yeah. I just have to ask you this. Because you're so big in networking and meeting new people through events and everything else, how much of that helped your business grow?
Uh, Massively. And maybe not in the direct way that you think, first of all, because through having a diverse network and, so many great relationships with the people in Newcastle, it's helped through their feedback shape my service offering. And so it's actually been a few different pivots that I've made in my business to make it more appropriate to the local market. And so, first of all, I started off in a much more reactive IT support space where I thought, business owners need somebody reliable who they can contact when things are on fire. And that was my initial service offering because that was my background, help desk support. And I thought that was effective for business owners. However, what I realized in that space is that it's still a back end system, which is not seen by their clients. And it's still a very, it needs to be reliable and it needs to be stable. However, with the CRM component, it also helps me help my clients get more clients. If you know what I mean, it's a front end system. So the way I've designed my business and have been helped through my community to shape it this way is that it is split into two halves. I've got the back end systems, which are really effective for stability and reliability, of course, with my support as well. And then we've got the front end systems, which are client facing. It's the communication setup and it's helping them, first of all, retain more clients and get more clients. So,
Wow. Yeah, yeah. I mean, as a founder, we all know that it's not just the getting the client, getting more client, getting more client. If you run a business, there are a few other things that you have to constantly think about. You have to think about the if you have employees right now, you have to think about the HR part. You have to think about the finance one. You have to think about the operation part, and there obviously there's this entire thing called legal, which is really easy to understand, but we make it so hard to understand because that's how lawyers want to get paid. uh, and it's it's very interesting for me to see that people still misunderstand this one thing with networking. People think, hey, networking meaning I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to meet a few people, and they will become my client. It's really not about that only. Yeah, some of them might become your client, but as you mentioned before, that should not be the intention. If the intention is making genuine connection and see if there is any other way you can also help them, that's how you network. Is there anything else? Is there anything else that people should keep in mind when they should network and when they're growing the network? What are the things they need to keep in mind so that they can keep cherishing this network? I'll give you one tiny context, if I may. So when we network, we add more and more people in our network. We add more and more people in our network. But there are times when maybe we built a relationship, but now we're just not in touch anymore because we constantly think about meeting new people, meeting more people. So what would you say, um, how can somebody keep cherishing the network so that they don't lose the connection that they have already made with somebody?
Yeah, of course. And it's a great question too, because obviously, you're not going to stay friends with everyone forever. Um, and I think your network needs to be relevant to you and your business, of course. So it's always changing. Um, but I would highly recommend people to check out a great book called The Scaling Value Playbook, which is written by a guy named John Besant, who's also the host of the United Nations Innovation podcast, I think. So he's a really good guy. And essentially, the concept he flushes out in that book is about value networks, right? And it's where we can go to make sense of things in our business. So when I'm thinking about who I should be connecting with and how I should be expanding my network, I'm trying to identify the gaps in my value network that I extend to my clients and my friends in the way that, hey, actually, if I need help with something, I've got a place I can go to make sense of it. So, at a certain time, once you've expanded your network far enough, you'll start to identify the certain areas you can make a lot of sense of. And then there'll be certain gray areas and dark areas where, it could be a legal issue. And if one of your clients says, hey, Naz, I've got myself into some hot water. Have you got any help for me? It's really great for you to have a resource within your network that you can go to make sense of that. So that is partly how I strategically network, is to be able to fill the gaps for myself so that, if I'm ever having conversations with people, I'm well connected in, every little different space. And it's a great book that you can go into and read the theory about. But that would be the general concept, is to, be a little bit strategic about who you network with and, have really resourceful people who are also well connected in their industry.
Absolutely. Mitch, where can people find you if they would like to get in touch with you and network with you, like get to know you more, want to know you more? Where can they find you?
Yep. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Love to be connected on LinkedIn. It's just LinkedIn/IN/Mitch Toner. Love to be connected there. Also find me on Meetup. It's called Mitch Toner's Business Networking Community. And otherwise, yeah, reach out to Naz or myself directly, and I'd love to have a chat.
That's awesome, Mitch. Thank you so much for your time. I think it was really important for people to understand, like, how do they network. I wanted to keep the entire conversation, in that round because oftentimes I know there are YouTube videos out there. I know there are courses out there. I know people think they know networking, but I generally wanted somebody like you to tell people, like, what does it really mean in 2025 post COVID, right?
Right.
Where people are really looking forward to real connection again, meaningful connection again. So thank you so much for your time. I'm really happy that you are on this podcast, Mitch. With that, everybody who is listening to this podcast on any other platform, please do follow us. And if you're watching this on YouTube, do subscribe and hit the like button. With that, thank you so much and see you on the next episode.